It's roughly 2 million years ago. You are standing on an open African landscape under a sun that has no respect for your comfort. There is no grocery store, no fridge, no delivery app, no polite little packet of chicken breast wrapped in plastic pretending it did not come from an animal. There is just you, your group, a sharp stone in your hand, and the smell of meat somewhere nearby. Maybe a lion killed an antelope and left scraps. Maybe a sick animal has fallen. Maybe your group has been following tracks since morning. Your stomach is empty. Your legs hurt. Your brain is doing math, but not the school kind. Can we get the meat? Can we get it before the hyenas? Can we get it without becoming meat ourselves? There are no rifles, no bows, no metal knives, no camouflage jacket, no hunting license, no uncle saying, back in my day, I could hit a deer from across the valley. Just dust, fear, hunger, sharp eyes, and a very uncomfortable truth. If you want meat, you may have to risk your life. And that is strange, because today, hunting can look like a sport, a hobby, or a tradition. But for ancient humans, hunting was not a weekend plan. It was survival mixed with danger, intelligence, teamwork, and a little bit of madness. Because let's be honest, chasing an animal faster, stronger, and better armed than you is not an obvious career choice. A zebra can kick, a buffalo can crush, a boar can slice, even a deer can make you regret your confidence. So when did humans first start hunting? And why did they ever look at large animals and think, yes, that dangerous muscle machine should become dinner? This is not just the story of hunting. This is the story of hunger, brains, tools, teamwork, fear, fire, and the long road from stealing leftovers to planning a kill. Because when we ask, when did ancient humans start hunting? We are not only asking when someone first threw a spear, we are asking something deeper. When did our ancestors stop being only prey and scavengers and start becoming one of the most dangerous hunters on Earth? That is a big shift. Most animals are good at one thing. A cheetah runs fast. An eagle sees far. A wolf hunts in a pack. A crocodile waits like a floating nightmare with teeth. Humans are not naturally impressive in that way. We have no claws. Our teeth are embarrassing compared with a lion's. We are not very fast. We are not covered in armor. A baby horse can run soon after birth. A human baby takes a year just to wobble across the room and fall into furniture. And yet, humans became hunters. Not because we were the strongest, because we were weird. We could remember. We could plan. We could cooperate. We could make tools. We could read tracks. We could imagine what an animal might do before it did it. That is the real story. Hunting did not begin as one heroic moment where an ancient human stood on a hill, raised a spear, and invented barbecue. It was gradual. It probably began with scavenging, small animals, opportunistic killing, stealing carcasses, cutting meat from bones, breaking bones for marrow, and slowly learning how to turn intelligence into a weapon. The short answer is, we do not know exactly. The long answer is much more interesting. The obvious explanation is that humans started hunting when they made weapons. That sounds reasonable. You make a spear, you hunt, you make a bow, you hunt better, you make a rifle, you suddenly need a truck, a hat, and a story that gets longer every year. But here's the problem. Meat eating appears in the evidence before clear hunting weapons. Animal bones with cut marks show that early human relatives were eating meat long before we find wooden spears or stone spear tips. Cut marks are scratches left when a sharp stone tool slices meat from bone. Archaeologists can compare these marks with marks made in experiments today, so we know early hominins were using tools to butcher animals. Hominins means humans and our ancient relatives after our line split from chimpanzees. It is a family word, not just modern humans. But cut marks do not always tell us how the animal died. Did our ancestors hunt it? Did they find it already dead? Did they scare away another predator? Did they arrive late and crack open bones for marrow? That is the mystery. The oldest evidence often tells us they ate meat. It does not always say they hunted it. And that difference matters. Scavenging is getting meat from animals that are already dead or killed by something else. Hunting is actively killing the animal yourself. In real ancient life, the line may have been blurry. Imagine a lion kills a zebra. The lion eats. Hyenas come. Vultures circle. Then a group of early humans arrives with stones and sticks, shouting, waving, throwing things, trying to grab leftovers without being turned into leftovers. Is that hunting? Not exactly. But it is still dangerous. It still takes courage. It still takes planning. And it may have been one of the first steps toward hunting. Before humans became great hunters, they may have been bold thieves of meat. Not glamorous, but effective. Nature does not give medals for dignity. Let's go back to the basic human problem. Food. Your body needs energy every day. Plants can give energy. Fruit, roots, tubers, seeds, nuts, and leaves mattered deeply in ancient diets. Ancient humans were not eating steak every night like a prehistoric restaurant menu, but meat had special value. Meat contains protein and fat. Fat is especially important because it carries a lot of energy. Bone marrow, the soft fatty tissue inside bones, was a rich prize. Brains were fatty too, though that is not usually how you want someone to describe dinner. For early humans living in changing environments, meat could be a huge advantage. It helped feed growing bodies. It may have supported larger brains over evolution. evolutionary time. But getting meat was not easy. Most animals do not want to be lunch. This is their main policy. So ancient humans had to solve several problems at once. How do you find animals? How do you get close? How do you kill without being killed? How do you carry meat back? How do you share it? How do you stop other predators from taking it? How do you remember where animals move during different seasons? Hunting is not just violence, it is information. You need to know tracks, smell, wind, animal behavior, water sources, weather, distance, group signals, tool quality, timing. Even today, good hunters are not just people with weapons. They are people who can read a landscape. They notice broken grass, fresh dung, hoof marks, bird calls, and silence. Now imagine doing that with no map, no flashlight, no boots, no metal blade, and no emergency number. Ancient hunting required bodies and brains working together, and because humans were physically weak compared with many animals, teamwork mattered. One person can maybe catch a small animal. A group can surround, drive, ambush, distract, and trap. A group can turn a dangerous animal's strength against it. This is where humans became terrifying in a very specific way. Not terrifying because of claws, terrifying because of coordination. A lion sees one human and may not be impressed, but 10 humans with stones, sticks, fire, and a plan? That is different. That is when the animal kingdom begins to file complaints. Here's where the evidence gets interesting. One of the biggest clues comes from bones. Animal bones from ancient sites can show cut marks, hammering marks, burning, breakage, and patterns of which body parts were carried away. If a site has many bones from animals of prime age, not just very young, old, or sick animals, that may suggest hunting. If whole carcasses were brought to a site, that can also suggest humans had strong access to the animals early, before scavengers destroyed the body. But it is detective work, not a clear video recording. The earliest possible evidence of stone tool butchery goes back around 3.4 million years at Dikika in Ethiopia. Some animal bones there have marks that some researchers interpret as tool cuts. But this is debated. Some scientists think the marks may have been caused by other natural processes. That matters because if the marks are truly from tools, then ancient relatives of humans were cutting meat very early, before the genus Homo had fully appeared. Genus Homo means the group that includes modern humans and close extinct relatives like Homo habilis and Homo erectus. But because the evidence is debated, we have to be honest. We cannot say with confidence that humans were hunting 4 million years ago. We can say that by around 2.6 million years ago, there is much stronger evidence that early humans or human relatives were using stone tools to butcher animals. This period is linked with Oldowan tools. Oldowan tools are simple stone tools, often sharp flakes and cores, used for cutting, chopping, and breaking bones. Simple does not mean stupid. A sharp stone flake can slice meat very well. If you have ever cut your finger on a tiny piece of glass, you already understand how powerful a simple sharp edge can be. Now imagine using that edge with purpose. By around 2 million years ago, sites like Kangera South in Kenya show strong evidence that early humans were regularly getting meat from animals, including small antelope. Some researchers argue that the pattern of bones suggests more than random scavenging. In some cases, whole carcasses or major parts of animals seem to have been brought to the site. This is where things become exciting. Small animals are important. When people imagine ancient hunting, they picture mammoths, giant bulls, and dramatic spear throws under stormy skies. Very cinematic, very dangerous, very good for posters. But the earliest reliable hunting may have involved smaller animals. Small antelope, young animals, tortoises, birds, fish, rabbits, monkeys, anything catchable, trappable, or stealable. That may sound less heroic, but it is more realistic. If you are just learning to hunt, you do not begin with, let's fight the elephant. You begin with something that will not immediately redesign your skeleton. The evidence ladder continues with tools. Around 1.8 million years ago, Homo erectus appears. Homo erectus was an early human species with a more human-like body shape, longer legs, better walking and running ability, and a larger brain than earlier hominins. Homo erectus spread out of Africa into parts of Asia. This suggests strong survival skills. Hunting, scavenging, tool use, and flexible diets likely helped. Some scientists think endurance running may have played a role in human hunting. Endurance running means running for a long time, not sprinting fast. Humans are slow compared with many animals, but we are surprisingly good at keeping going, especially in heat. We sweat to cool down. Many animals cool mainly by panting, which is harder while running. This has led to the theory of persistence hunting. Persistence hunting means chasing an animal for a long time until it overheats or becomes too tired to escape. Some modern hunter-gatherer groups have used versions of this strategy, but we do not know exactly how old it is. It is a theory, not a proven fact for early humans. Still, it shows an important point. Humans did not need to beat animals at their own game. We created different games. A gazelle wins a sprint. A human may win a long, patient, exhausting chase under the sun. That is not glamorous. It is basically weaponized stubbornness. And honestly, that may be one of the most human things ever invented. Then come real hunting weapons. Wood almost never survives for hundreds of thousands of years. it rots. So ancient wooden spears are rare. That means early humans may have used wooden weapons long before we can prove it. But when wooden weapons do survive, they are stunning. At Schöningen in Germany, archaeologists found ancient wooden spears near horse remains. These spears are often dated to around 300,000 years ago, though some newer research has debated the exact age and suggested they may be closer to 200,000 years old. Either way, they are extremely old. They were carefully shaped, balanced, made for throwing or thrusting. They show planning, skill, and knowledge of wood, and they were found with remains of horses. This is not random meat chewing. This looks like serious hunting behavior. Think about that for a second. A person, or a group, selected wood, shaped it, balanced it, carried it, approached dangerous animals, and used it in a planned hunt. That is a different world from grabbing scraps after a lion. By around 500,000 years ago, stone points from Kathu Pan in South Africa have been interpreted as possible spear tips. A spear tip is a sharpened point attached to a wooden shaft. Hafting is the process of attaching a stone point to a handle or shaft, often with plant fiber, sinew, resin, or other binding material. Hafting is a big deal. It means humans were combining materials. Stone plus wood plus glue-like material plus cordage. That is not just a tool, that is a system, and systems show imagination. You have to see not only the stone in your hand, but what it could become when joined to something else. Later, Neanderthals hunted large animals in Ice Age Europe. Neanderthals were close human relatives, strong-bodied, skilled, and adapted to cold environments. Evidence from many sites shows they hunted animals like deer, horses, bison, and even very large animals in some cases. They were not dumb brutes. That old image is dead, and should stay dead. Neanderthals made tools, controlled fire, cared for injured group members, and hunted with skill. Getting close enough to kill large animals with thrusting spears would have been dangerous. Broken bones found in Neanderthal skeletons show they lived rough lives. Some injuries look similar to those seen in rodeo riders, which is a polite scientific way of saying large animals were not impressed. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, later developed more advanced projectile weapons. Projectile weapons are weapons thrown or shot from a distance. Spears, spear throwers, bows, and arrows all changed hunting. A spear thrower, also called an atlatl in some cultures, helps launch a dart or spear farther and harder. Bows and arrows allowed more distance and accuracy. The oldest clear evidence for bow and arrow technology is debated and varies by region. In southern Africa, some tiny stone points and other clues suggest early projectile technology tens of thousands of years ago, possibly much earlier than once thought. But the details are complex, and not every small point is automatically an arrowhead. The key idea is simple. Over time, hunting became safer and more efficient because humans learned to kill from farther away, which, if you are facing a large angry animal, is a very understandable innovation. Nobody looked at a charging buffalo and thought, you know what this needs? More intimacy. Now let's talk about what hunting says about humans. Hunting is not just food, it is social behavior. When a group hunts together, they must communicate. They must trust each other. They must share risk. Someone tracks. Someone drives the animal. Someone waits. Someone throws. Someone finishes the kill. Someone carries meat. Someone protects the group from predators. A failed hunt may mean hunger. A successful hunt may mean food for children, elders, injured people, and others who did not join the chase. So hunting may have helped strengthen group bonds. It may also have created status. A skilled hunter could gain respect, not just because they were brave, but because they brought valuable food. Meat could be shared, traded, celebrated, or used to build alliances. But here's the thing. Hunting was probably not only a male story, and not as simple as old stereotypes suggest. In many societies, men have often done much of the large game hunting, but women have also hunted in many cultures, especially small game, birds, fish, and sometimes larger animals. Children learned by watching. Elders taught knowledge. Plant gathering often provided steady calories, while hunting was riskier and less predictable. The phrase, man the hunter, became famous in older anthropology. But it is too simple. Human survival was not built by one group doing one job. It was a mixed economy of food, plants, meat, fish, shellfish, insects, eggs, honey, roots, nuts, and whatever did not run away fast enough. Ancient humans were not living inside a simple cartoon. They were flexible. That flexibility is our superpower. If the hunt failed, maybe roots saved the group. If plants were scarce, maybe meat helped. If big animals moved away, humans hunted smaller ones. If the season changed, the strategy changed. Hunting also created fear. Do not forget fear. We often talk about ancient hunters like they were fearless warriors. But fear was probably part of the job. Fear keeps you alive. Fear tells you not to walk casually toward a wounded animal with horns. A brave hunter is not someone without fear. A brave hunter is someone who feels fear and still remembers the plan. Pain mattered too. A bad hunt could mean broken ribs, puncture wounds, infection, disability, or death. Ancient humans had no emergency surgery waiting nearby. If a boar opened your leg, your group had to solve that with pressure, plants, fire, rest, luck, and intense regret. So hunting was always a trade. Meat gave life. The chase could take life. That tension may be why hunting became surrounded by ritual. Here is the part most people miss. Hunting was not only practical, it may also have been spiritual, social, and symbolic. Many hunter-gatherer cultures treat animals with deep respect. They may tell stories about animal spirits. They may thank the animal. They may follow rules about bones, blood, meat sharing, or who can eat certain parts. Why? Because hunting creates a moral problem. To live, you kill. That is heavy. Ancient humans were intelligent enough to feel that weight. They watched animals breathe, bleed, struggle, and die. They knew animals were not just objects. Animals had behavior, families, danger, beauty, and power. So hunting may have shaped religion, art, and identity. Cave art gives us a famous window into this. In places like Chauvet Cave in France, dating back more than 30,000 years, artists painted animals with stunning skill: lions, horses, rhinos, bison, bears. Later, cave art across Europe also shows many animals, sometimes with hunting scenes or signs. We should be careful. Cave art does not automatically mean hunting magic. Some animals painted in caves were not necessarily common prey. The meaning is still debated, but the obsession with animals is obvious. Ancient humans did not just eat animals. They studied them, they feared them, they admired them, they painted them in the dark. That matters because hunting made humans pay attention to the minds of other creatures. To hunt well, you must imagine the animal's next move. Where will it run? When will it drink? What scares it? What does it smell? What does it hear? This kind of thinking may have sharpened human imagination. Hunting is a physical act, but before it is physical, it is mental. You hunt first in your mind, then with your feet, then with your tool. Over time, hunting changed civilization. When humans were hunter-gatherers, hunting was part of daily life. It shaped movement, camps, tools, clothing, stories, and social roles. Then farming arrived, beginning around 12,000 years ago in some regions. Farming did not end hunting, it changed its place. People began growing crops and raising animals. Domestication means humans began controlling the breeding and lives of animals and plants. Instead of chasing wild animals, humans could keep sheep, goats, cattle, pigs, and chickens. That is a massive shift. It turns meat from a risky event into managed property. But wild hunting continued. Farmers still hunted for food, protection, trade, and status. Kings hunted as a display of power. Ancient rulers in places like Egypt, Assyria, and later many kingdoms used hunting scenes to show strength and control over nature. Hunting became political theater. A king killing a lion was not just getting dinner. It was saying, "I am powerful enough to master danger." Very dramatic, very royal. Also probably easier when you have assistants helping manage the danger. As civilizations grew, hunting became divided by class. For some people, it remained survival. For elites, it became sport, training, and status. In many societies, rules controlled who could hunt certain animals or certain lands. Hunting rights became tied to power. The simple ancient act of getting meat became wrapped in law, property, and identity. Later, hunting also became trade. Furs, skins, ivory, feathers, bones, and meat moved through exchange networks. Animals were no longer only food. They became resources, symbols, luxury goods, and sometimes victims of human greed. So the story that began with hunger eventually connects to economy, empire, fashion, and environmental change. That is the strange path of hunting. It begins with a hungry hominin holding a stone. It ends with kings, markets, laws, sport, conservation, and arguments at family dinners. So when did ancient humans start hunting? The honest answer is we do not know exactly. If we mean eating meat from animal carcasses, the evidence is strong by around 2.6 million years ago, and there are older possible clues that remain debated. If we mean regularly getting animals, perhaps including hunting small prey, then by around 2 million years ago, early humans were clearly making meat an important part of life in some places. If we mean planned hunting with weapons, the evidence becomes clearer hundreds of thousands of years ago, with stone spear tips, wooden spears, and sites showing organized hunting. If we mean modern-style hunting with advanced projectile weapons, that comes much later, especially with spear throwers, bows, arrows, and complex toolkits among Homo sapiens. So there is no single birthday for hunting, no ancient calendar marked. Today, we stopped being nervous scavengers and became hunters. It was a long process. First came opportunity, then tools, then courage, then planning, then weapons, then ritual, then culture. Hunting began not as a clean invention, but as a messy relationship between hunger and intelligence. And maybe that is why it still fascinates us. Most of us today do not chase animals across open land. We chase buses, deadlines, bills, and occasionally a phone charger. Our food arrives wrapped, washed, stamped, scanned, and priced. We can eat meat without ever seeing the animal, the blood, the risk, or the skill. That distance is modern. For ancient humans, food was not separate from the world. It was the world. It had tracks, smell, speed, danger, and memory. Every meal carried a story. Someone saw the herd. Someone followed the trail. Someone waited in silence. Someone threw too early and got mocked for weeks. Someone carried meat back to camp. Someone fed a child. Someone survived another day. When you look at hunting this way, it becomes more than violence. It